Well, we've got 6 of 7. Let's see if Chris is going to join us today. He did not last week. Looks like you guys had a little fun with the assignment this week. Most of you killed it. One of the best weeks for that I've seen. So good job. We'll take a close look at all of those in a minute. So after we do that, then we'll go into the new topic or new technique, I think is a better word for what we're going to look at this week. Still building on what we've done. What we're going to do this week is another motion type thing, but in a different way. And then once we've done that, we'll go spend a minute or two with each one of you individually and do the one-on-one assessment. And then once you're done, and there comes Chris. Once we're done with that, in whatever order we go, it'll just be whatever order you guys show up, then you'll be done and you can go. Don't know how far along that'll be, but this week's instruction is a little odd because it's kind of hybrid. I kind of shot some pictures and a little video, and we're going to see if I can get that to play and all of that kind of stuff. But first things first, let's go and take a look at what you guys turned in this week. And we will start with Haley. So first of all, you have already learned to title your images appropriately. This one's titled Mother Yoda.
Yep.
So good topic for that. Well, first of all, let me ask you what it was you used, because I can see it looks like the outline of a Yoda. Is it some lighted little, there you go. Okay. So somebody just kind of moved that back and forth over your head during the exposure, correct?
Yeah.
What about what's in your hair, the lights in your hair? What are those?
That's just like fairy lights, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, fairy lights. That's not me.
Yeah, I can see there's a little bit of a bluish purplish kind of haze being cast by those. So I like, well, I mean, I love the Yoda effect, first of all. I like the symmetry of this image. The one thing that I did notice that I would, and I need to preface this by saying I told you that this was okay, and it is. But again, I'm always going to point out things that I see in an image that I know would have improved it, even though you definitely satisfied, what I was looking for here. And that's, I said even an on-camera flash or a pop-up flash on a camera will work, and it does. Definitely gives us what we were looking for here. Froze you, allowed, some time for movement of the object in the background. But if I wanted to tell you what you could do to make this better, there were two things that popped out right away. One would be obviously the lighting on you. I would make a little more dramatic. The one thing that when in a lot of images like this that I see that are done really well, they actually carry the effect of that whatever it is, whatever color it is that they use for the effect in the background, they carry that through into the foreground. So for example, I've seen, and again, you don't have access to studio lights or things like that yet, but I've seen, somebody might have taken some lights with green gels, for example, and edged you around the edges to make it look like that light was actually much stronger than it was, and creating all these edge lights. But that's a minor thing. It's the front lighting, and I'm not knocking you for this because, like I said, I told you to do it. um, but it's just, the only reason I'm mentioning it is I want to keep it in the front of your minds that the further from the camera you get your main light source, the more dramatic your image is going to be. Now, the more shadows you'll create as well, and you have to deal with those shadows, either use them to your advantage or fill them in a little bit so that they're not as harsh. It just depends on the light source that you use. So the biggest reason for, well, not the biggest reason for not liking light coming directly from the camera is that it flattens everything out to the point where it's more difficult to see 3 dimensions than it is when we're creating shadows. But the second thing is that the things that are closer to the camera are going to be brighter because of the way light falls off and the way the light's coming from the camera. So your hands and even your sleeves in the forefront are actually brighter than your face. And that's something that we always try to stay away from. If the face is where you want people to look, try to make that the brightest point in the image, other than the fairy lights, obviously. Now, again, it sounds like I'm knocking you for this. I'm really not. I'm just saying, man, you did a really good job. This would have taken it to another level, but with the tools and equipment that you have at this point, it just might not have been possible. And that's fine. No problem at all. The thought process that went into it, the execution of it. How many times did you do this before you got what you wanted?
I don't know, Sierra, how long did it take?
I think it was like 3 or 4.
It was like 3 or 4 times.
Well, that's pretty good to get it in 3 or 4. I've seen some, and I've actually done some where I actually go back and like my first image best of all, and then I've seen other ones where I've had to play for an hour before I finally got what I wanted. But it's rare to get it on the first try. But it looks like you had a clear idea of what you were going for. It's obvious, and again, you tie it in with the title, and that's the best part. Is that had I looked at this without that title, I kind of, I'm not sure I would have picked. I saw the shape, but I'm not sure. It's sort of like a cookie cutter. When you get the cookie all done, it kind of looks like what it's supposed to, but the cookie cutter itself doesn't really look like much. And it's kind of one of those things. But the title really brought that around and tied that in. The only other thing, and this is a minor constructive criticism as well, is I might have either worn something that was in the same color family as the green lights, green top or something like that, or even maybe changed it after the fact to go in. We haven't looked at any stuff like that, I know. Let me just see real quickly if how easy it would be to do that. And I'm just going to try a technique right off the bat here just to see if it works. So in Photoshop, if I go to, well, the first thing I would try would be to go to a hue and saturation adjustment and find that it's probably not going to be blues. It's probably going to be more cyans, and adjust. Yeah, it is more cyans, and just adjust that slider so that now your top is a little more green than blue. And let's see if maybe we can even, I might even darken it just a little bit. Now that's had a slight effect up above. So since I have a layer mask here, I would just take a black paintbrush and paint out the effect of that up there. And as I look at it now and I turn it on and off, yeah, I do like that better with the green top than the blue because it ties it together a little bit better. Just like I said, a minor thing, slight suggestion. There are a couple of ways to do that. Just wanted to show you what one of them was. But overall, good job. Good start. I think yours might have been, if not the first one I got in, it was one of the first ones. And I was like, yes, I was like, it looks like, I think this is going to be a good week. I think everybody kind of did what I was hoping for. So good job on that. Let's move on to Beth. Beth went all the way to Pittsburgh, didn't you, to shoot this just because you wanted it to be extra special. Now, I'm guessing that you've got some images in here that kind of worked and maybe didn't kind of work. You kind of have a little bit of both. I think I obviously know which ones are your favorites, but let's walk through them first. We'll look at them and then we'll talk about them a little bit. So obviously this one's a very different technique. What were you using, by the way, as a light source?
So our first idea is like my friend, like you can kind of see her in the back. She's like a baton twirler, and she has like this glow stick baton that she twirls, but it wouldn't work. So we ended up having to get like other glow sticks and just use our phone flashlight for the most part.
Okay. So yeah, just different effects. Again, if I were going to, well, there really isn't, there's not a whole lot you could have done. So I like the fact that we have a background that has, something recognizable and some color and things back there. I'd love to have seen that with more detail in it, but the only way to do that would have been to do it earlier, and then you would have seen more of the foreground. So these techniques tend to work way better in the dark, and then with putting some light on the foreground subject. So let's go through. So it looks like you started with an idea here of writing your name and probably got this and looked at it and went, wow, that's pretty bad. Like as far as your name, it didn't quite work, did it? But you did get it. You did get it. So there's another attempt at it. And at this point, you have to be thinking, man, this is harder than it looks.
She wrote it and she was like, "Oh no, that looks like it says P."
It kind of does. Or maybe we'll say it's a C, P or PEC or PCC. I don't know. And then, so now we're getting better. Okay. Now we can kind of see that it's supposed to be Beth, but not quite there. And then how did you go from that to that? Because that's just about perfect.
She said, "Oh wait, how about we try it in cursive?" I'm like, that sounds like it'd be a lot easier.
Yeah, it is because it flows a little bit better. And then the little curly cues underneath, sort of the underline, is a nice touch on there too. The only thing that would have made this really, really, really a whole lot better would have been to have some flash on you in the foreground to light you up.
Listen to this. Okay, so I couldn't get my flash to work. I couldn't get it to work. Couldn't get it to work, and I couldn't understand why. And then I got in the car and realized I had like this thing on it, so it wouldn't pop up.
Oh, yeah, when you have something in the hot shoe.
I was like, okay.
So you knew that would have made it better. It's just that you couldn't get it to work, and it would have. I mean, as I look at this, because I can see you there a little bit, if I can envision that with you being lit, even if it were camera flash the way Haley's was, it still would have made this a pretty cool shot. Worth going back and trying it again, though, to get that part of it. Even if you just did you and then composited it with this shot that you already have, because this one's pretty good. And we have some more as well. So there's another one. This one I think might even be better because compositionally, I love the square crop that you did, the balance that it has with some of the elements in the background. You're in a good spot there. Again, if you had been lit, this would have been absolutely dynamite. It's really good as it is, but it would have been absolutely dynamite with you lit. Then it looks like we just played with some, well, let's just streak some light back there and see what that does. And then let's just really mess it up and make all kinds of design. It's fun when you do this, right? Because you don't know. You have no idea until it shows up on the camera what this is going to look like. You kind of have an idea for what you think it might be, but it's generally going to surprise you. And then we ended with, I'm guessing Mickey Mouse or something thereabouts. So as we go back, and I have to go back and start from scratch, you actually have, now again, if you were in that circle, which it looks like you were, and were lit, that would be dynamite. I think probably your best image though is this one right here. I don't mind that one, but I think the cropping actually helps you out on this one. Is that, no, it's not the same image. No, it's not. Okay, different image. Yeah, so that's a pretty good use. I remember doing this. We did this in the desert one night. We had 4 girls who, I'm trying to remember. I don't even. Must have been. This is 2021. It must have been 2017. I'm guessing 16, I can't remember. Anyway, we gave them each a pen light. We were out in the desert at night, and we just wanted them, each one of them, to do a number, 201, 7 if it was 2017. And man, just that alone, you think about it, a 1, boy, that's easy. A 0, that's easy. But even those didn't look right at first. They took a little bit of practice to get them right. So for somebody to get the cursive right on the name here, this one, that's pretty good. Let me get a folder in here for these. Although, well, I'll come back to that in a minute. So let's get Beth's or Haley's in there. Let's get Beth's in there. But yeah, I did enjoy these. I think that's a neat look as well. I think if you do this again, that might be something to play with even more, just to, kind of this, it could be used as a framing device around you or around the subject or whatever. But I think that one worked really well too. So good job. All right, let's go to Chris. So Chris, we have 2 images here. One looks like it's definitely a bit more processed than the other one.
Mhm.
I'm struggling to figure out how you did what you did. So help me out.
Well, the top one's just like the original picture. Actually, I think I might have given you I edited it a little bit just to bring up I think that's a jaguar. It's some kind of cat. I don't know.
Mhm.
And then the bottom one, I've been taking a class with Fencel, and we just do weird stuff like that. And it's through these apps that he recommends, I do it through Snapseed, PixArt, and I don't know. I've been really enjoying that style, so I just kind of been running with it.
So what is it that actually created the pattern in the background?
Oh my gosh, it's like 100 different. I sit there for 15 minutes, and I can put 30, 40 different filters on it, and I'm just playing and putting on these there are asset libraries, so those little dots you see, I actually put those in there.
But I mean, was it created by a light source or was it something else? Because we were supposed to use a light source to do this.
Oh yeah, that's a laser. So,
Laser, there you go. That's what I was
yeah.
looking for.
Oh, okay. I thought you were asking how I did it.
No, so this is a green laser that you just really went to
Yeah,
town
and it
on.
has a kaleidoscope on it. So I spun it while I did the exposure, and
Oh, okay.
thought it looked like splattered paint.
Yeah, it kind of does. Kind of does. Yeah, I
Okay.
think I like your bottom one just simply because of the fact that the top one, where that horizon line is, and the other than the part of the figure that intrudes into that, it's all black, void without detail.
Yeah.
But
I
the other
kind of
one,
did that on purpose, to be honest, though. I don't know why. I just thought it might have been because I knew I was gonna probably do something to it different in post. So I wanted half of the picture to be the laser, and then the other half just dark. I don't know why. I did that on purpose, though.
I think I would have liked it if, like the top one, I would have liked it if the cat had been fully in the bottom, like if he had been completely isolated against the black, and then allow that. Is it just on? Is that like a cement block wall or what is that?
I have that up on I just stacked some boxes,
Oh, okay.
took an old sheet. Yeah. I shoot a lot
Gotcha.
of pictures there.
Gotcha. Yeah, I can see some breaks in it and stuff. It just looked like it might have been cement block. But yeah, and then the other thing is in the bottom, you have better color harmony because we don't have, in the top one, we have contrasting colors. But again, that dark area, if the cat was down there, I think I'd be okay with it. But the bottom one overall, I think works a little bit better for you, for me, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, laser. I have a couple of small laser pens, but I don't think I've ever used them.
Yeah. It's one
Well,
of the
no.
illegal ones you buy at the beach, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, actually, I have, now that I think about it, I have actually painted a person using one of those laser lights. Boy, you got to be careful not to hit him in the eyes, though.
Oh, I know.
I remember when those things first came out, I was sitting around a campfire at at a convention one night, and it was the first time I'd ever seen one. And this guy took it and shined it like into the sky, and I'm like, holy crap! Like it's not going to stop till it gets to Mars. Like it
Yeah,
just,
no, they go to space.
yeah. I mean, it's unbelievable. I used to have a oh, I'm trying to remember what it was. It was a xenon light. It was like a spotlight. It was handheld, and the element on it was about that big. And it had a focused beam that would come out of it. And if I could literally, I'm not kidding you, I could literally shine it from West Virginia onto the hills in Ohio.
Yeah.
Like it was that powerful. It went all the way across the river. But these things are wild because they're so small and so pinpoint focused. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that. All right, let's see what Eva's got here. So Eva, this, if I'm not mistaken, is something I've seen before, correct? Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, that's an old one.
Okay, and it's a good one because I really still love this shot. I love the way the sparks coming off the flame makes it look like, you know, fur almost. Like it's really just has a completely different look and feel. And that's the shutter speed on that was perfect because, and what was it? It was actually 60th of a second, so it must have been moving pretty fast. But anyway, everything about that image was good. But this one, so as far as the assignment this week, this is the one that I really kind of fell for. So tell me first of all what that foreground item is, and then secondly how you created the lights in the back.
That's one of those lightning lamps. And
Like
in the background, we wrap lights around a hula hoop.
That's cool. So you wrap the lights around the hula hoop and then like
And then
how
waved it back and forth.
wave it
Yeah.
back and forth. Okay, gotcha. I just saw I should have screenshotted it. I just watched a webinar the other day of a guy who took you know, just the normal LED light strips that you can buy now and put them on a wand, like about a 4-foot wand, and did some really cool things with that. Same kind of an idea. So your foreground item is almost like one of those little Van de Graaff generators, like it you know, shoots stuff. But it's a cool looking like little globe thing. I think the only thing minor detail, because I love the color in this, I love the harmony in it. The only minor thing that I would have done would have been to move that cord so that you didn't see it. Put it in the back or something, because even as dark as that foreground is, I do see that cord.
Yep.
But other than that, yeah, really, it looks like, even though the two things are separate items, it looks like they're related. Looks like, you know, the background was caused by the foreground, even though it wasn't. But good idea to use a hula hoop. That's what I was hoping to see from you guys this week. I wanted to see you create these things in different ways, create these lights in ways that I hadn't done previous to that. And I think you did a pretty good job of that. So let me throw that one into the mix. Let's see if I put Chris's in. I think I did. Yeah, I did. Okay. And then Jaden, we're going to look at Jaden's originals first. He has, or she, sorry. I have a Jaden in both classes. One's he and one is she. So I'm trying to keep that straight. So the image on the left, pretty obvious what, you know, or sort of obvious what that is. The one on the right, your light source is coming down a set of steps. Did you like electrify a slinky or something? That's what it looks like.
I took a rubber band ball and just shoved some glow sticks in it and pushed it down.
That's what I love about this kind of stuff, is that you can come up with some really crazy stuff. But then the cool part was to take these two images. So when you did this, did you already have the end in mind, or did you just start playing around and say, well, this might work?
Yeah, I had nothing in my head before I started. I just went with it, and this is what happened.
So these are the originals, and the finished one is called Warp Speed. And 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 so you took the steps, you took the image on the steps and flipped it on its side. So now we don't recognize them as steps, which is great. It does look like stuff coming out of that, the engines on this thing. That was a pretty creative use of the technique and a pretty good idea for how you did it. Now, this is one like Haley's where we have blues and greens together too, but this I kind of like because I think if the ship had been green as well, it wouldn't have popped out as much as I wanted it to. I like what you did with the placement of the lighter parts of that light source in the back, right off of the back of the ship, and it has a bit of a glow around it. So yeah, great job on the way you put this together, and just the thought process behind it. I think I hope it was fun to do because it's fun to look at. All right, let's put that into there. And then our last one is Alana. Alana, I don't know, you just are in this zone right now where you're killing it. Oh no, there is one more and it's not in there. I got to move it over. Sorry. No, it's in there. It's just it's by itself. We'll get to that in a second. So yeah, you're killing it. First, tell me what it was you used as your light source. It looks like, I mean, it looks like something that's almost like a rope, the way this is moving.
So I'm on the color guard, so it's a flagpole, and we taped glow sticks to the pole.
Taped glow sticks to a pole. Okay, so you've got a bunch of images. I'm going to just walk through, rather not a bunch, 3 or 4, maybe 5. That one I absolutely love. I don't know what did you. That's not a real reflection in the bottom, is it, or is it?
Yeah, it is. We
What do
were
you-
in a gym. It was
On
a
the
gym
floor.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, great idea to do that on something reflective like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that worked out really well. So there's actually a filter that I use sometimes called Flood that kind of does something similar to this. It's really cool the way it works. And at first I thought you had used an app or something like that to do that, but now I do see the actual wood slats in the floor. That's cool. That I think I have to go back and look, but I think that's my favorite one, but let's look at all of them.
Yeah, I like that one.
So this one is up overhead, a couple of different colors going on, different colors again. And I like the fact that I don't know if it's you or if that's somebody who's helping you, but the silhouette of the image. Yeah, the silhouette is kind of cool. I like that. I love the way we've got different colors going on. I like the fact that I can see that it's a person, but the motion, even though you didn't use a flash or some kind of light like that to freeze you or who, I can still tell what it is. And I kind of like the fluidity of that. Yeah, I like all of these, but man, when I go back, that one's cool. That one just blows me away. That one is just like when I looked at this, don't take this the wrong way, but when I first looked at it, I thought, oh, don't tell me she downloaded something because because it was that good. Like I thought this was something that you found. Maybe you were going to say, well, I did all the other ones based on finding this one, but then I could tell that they were all part of a series. It really is that good.
Thank you.
Just perfect execution of the technique. And then the other one is Taylor's right here. Again, so a couple things I really, really like. This was a way to do this without using a flash so that the light source still stayed as prominent as it is, but still be able to see the subject as well. So I don't know how much ambient light there was and how much of it is created, the light on you is created by the light source, but it's a pretty good blend of the two. Like I really like that. And I also love the fact that the light source, whatever it is, goes both behind you and in front of you. I've done this on a few people before as well. And that creates so much depth when you have that on both sides of the person instead of just behind. So what was your light source?
It was a flashlight that has 2 bulbs in it, so you can see how there's like kind of 2 rays going together.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
I was actually in like the pitch black, and I just had to adjust the exposure on my computer to make this a little bit brighter because it was pretty dark. But yeah, I just had my friend like try to go around me with the light, but the first few my face was really blurry, and I don't know if it's where like his arm like went in front of my face or what, but this was the one that like was the least blurry. But and then we kind of slowed down the light source, but then the lines got really shaky, so we had to like keep it like really fast to make it smooth like that.
Yeah, it's a really good exercise in trial and error because you do almost always have issues and problems when you first start, and then you just kind of work through it and refine those a little bit. Well, but anyway, I really like what you finally ended up with. I the color for me is a little bit funky, I think, because of the greenish yellows, which I'm not always a fan of on skin tones. But my first thought was, wow, I wonder if this would be cool in black and white, but it doesn't bother me that much. I actually kind of like, I definitely kind of like the color fringing in the light source. Not sure. I don't know. Let me open it up and just see what it would look like. In fact, there's a couple of things that we could do to this image that might be wild. Let's see. Why is it not opening here?
Yeah, like I love really saturated photos, but this might look more professional and like muted tones.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, this is one where it's just an idea at this point. Let me go in and share the Photoshop one. I might play with this and then decide, nope, really don't like it. All right, so we're gonna bump up the yellows and the reds because that's where your skin tones are. Yeah, it gives it a little more of an ethereal look when you do that. Let's see if, I don't know how many of these other colors, if any. Well, the blue definitely does. You don't want that to go too high or you do bleed those lines too much. So we'll keep that down. I like it both ways. But now I'm gonna play with it even a little bit further. Go into something that I don't use very often just to see, and hopefully this will show up in your shared window as well. It's just running a little slow here. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to stop sharing and reshare because it doesn't look like that window was being shared. So let me go into that. So this is a plugin. If it was on your phone, and we'd call it an app, but it's a Photoshop plugin, and what it does is, let's go into the stylized. I think that's going to be our best bet. As I put my cursor over these, it'll show me a little thumbnail down here of what it would look like if I did that. That one's kind of cool.
Yeah, I like that.
Kind of ghostly. Let's see what else we've got. That one might be better in color, but since we've already gone to black and white, we're going to be a little bit more limited. And there's a liquid chrome. Yeah, I think I want to see these. It might be better to, yeah, that one's kind of wild. Might be kind of better to look at these from the color image. So let me cancel out of that. We'll go back to Photoshop, get rid of the black and white, and then we'll look at that. The plugin is called Topaz Adjust, by the way. Topaz makes a whole suite of plugins, everything from being able to knock subjects off of the background to eliminating noise to, each one does something a little bit different. All right, let me share that. Now I'm going to go over the same ones that we looked at, and you're going to see a completely different, there we go. Completely different look because we're in color. Day glow is pretty wild for that image. Glow in the dark, I think, might be cool for this one. Huh. It's funny. Oh no, the thumbnail was showing me the wrong one. That's the one I was looking at. That's kind of wild.
That is really cool.
Just want to see, there's some at the bottom here that are a little more surrealistic. I want to wait till we get down there. Just see, they're really giving me a very slow. There we go. The solarized ones are the ones that might be kind of cool. That's wild. Yeah, I think I actually still like, I don't remember which one it was we had up here. Glow in the dark, maybe? No, it was Faded Glory. It was the one above that. Yeah. Yeah, that one looks like something you'd see on Ghost Story. We see this person in the hallway all the time. But anyway, these are the types of images that are kind of fun to play. I don't do a lot with, I mean, I use filters like that, but I don't overuse them. I don't usually just go through and start slapping stuff on to see how cool it looks. But for an image like that, I think or most of these actually, I think that it kind of lends itself to that a little bit. So yeah, that one would be fun to play with. All right, let's go back and finish up our looks here. All right, there should be 7 images here. And I'm going to tell you right now, well, no, we're still going to do this just because I want to know something. So we're going to vote on these. Let's see, we've got, yeah, all 7 are here. So let's start with the left, the pink cat. We can do a show of hands on those. Beth's cursive writing. Beth, you're not voting for your own one. Wow. Alana's, yeah, I had a feeling that's what I was going to see. Let's keep going with Taylor's. Yep. Eva's, yep, got one there. And then Mother Yoda. So the 2 titles that win for me are Mother Yoda and Warp Speed. Those are the ones that I like the best. I wanted to see what you guys would pick. I thought you would probably go with that one, but I am so happy with all of these images. You all get a point this week. I'm gonna maybe we'll give Alana an extra one just because you guys did vote that way. But let me get everything because you all nailed it this week. All right, got them in. All right, 438. We are going to, I think we're going to just go right into the next part of this. I think that's probably our best bet at this point because it may not take that long to do. And then we'll take a little break. And then when we come back, we'll just do the one-on-one assessments. Okay, so the technique that we're going to look at this week is, again, a motion technique, but it's called, actually, let me stop sharing this. It's called panning. Is anybody familiar with panning or have done the technique before? Okay, so panning, and I have already put my camera away, so I just have to pantomime this. Panning involves moving the camera during the exposure. So think of a moving subject, a moving object in front of you that you are focused on and you're following during a 3-4 second exposure. So let's say it's a car going past and you're following the car, trying to keep it in the same position as you go through. And the effect that it's going to have is that your subject will stay relatively sharp while your background will blur out, but it'll blur in a very streaky fashion. So let's take a look. I pulled up some examples. I'll show you some different uses of this. Let me find it, panning. Here we go. Examples. All right, cool. So we're gonna, there we go. Start at the top. So here's one that anybody can do. It's a little kid in a swing. You can definitely see the motion blur, which is created by moving the camera. None of these will probably have metadata associated with them. No, they don't, because of the way they've been put on the internet. So none of these are mine. I downloaded all of these just to give you some examples of this. It is a technique that I've done before. I just don't have access to any of those images right now. But I would guess that this is probably, it depends on how fast the cameras are, how fast the camera is actually moving. But I'm going to say this is a 1 or a 2 second exposure, probably somewhere in that range. And they're just following this child as they probably move forward. Could have been on the backward swing, but probably moving forward. The things that I do like about this image, it's got good color harmony, at least from that shoe up. That yellow shoe is a little bit of a glaring issue for me. And the other part is, of course, that left leg being cropped off at the ankle where it is. Even in a moving shot like this, you want to try to pay attention to details like that. So for me, as good as this was as an execution of the technique, it would have been way better to either have both feet in or have both feet out, and then just, have that color harmony that we see in the top part of the image. This is one that is probably actually a quicker exposure because these cars move pretty fast. And in the car images that I have here, you'll notice, you can see that there is, like, the tires are spinning, the wheels are moving, but you can read the writing on this car, especially on the back end. It's tack sharp as if the car were sitting still. But obviously the background is blurred because it is moving. I like the fact that it's been given a little bit of an incline to create some diagonals that weren't there. It would be a little static otherwise as horizontals. Then let's move on. I like this one because the effect on this one's very subtle. Let me move this back up here. You really see it in the road. You can definitely see how that's been blurred out a little bit in the background, but mostly in the road. But that car is tack sharp from front to back. This is a really tough, it's an easy technique to understand. It's a very difficult technique to master. Whoever shot this, I guarantee you, has done this a million times. You don't get that good at it that fast usually. So I like that. Here's a creative use of it. Think about being in a moving car. So this guy decided, I'm hoping that he's in the passenger seat, not the driver's seat. It might be, well, let's see. It's hard to tell here. Yeah, you can't really even read whether that's forwards or backwards. The side of the car makes it look like it's driver's seat, but it could have been jolly old England too. But the idea is that the car, the camera, and the person are all moving at the same speed relative to each other, but the background obviously is moving at a much greater speed. So I don't know if any of you have studied the theory of relativity at all, and as far as all the things that go into play there, as far as even sound, how sound is different when something is coming towards you as far as going as opposed to going away from you, and how things in relationship to each other are what matters and not the speed of something. So it gets really deep if you get into it beyond that, like even where gravity is concerned and black holes and how it affects time and all of that kind of stuff. But basically, the basic principles of that theory revolve more around You know, thinking about somebody on a train, for example, or people on a train. If you don't look outside, you wouldn't know you were moving at all because you're all moving at exactly the same speed. So relative to each other, there's nothing unusual, nothing happening. But relative to the outside, it's a very different story. So this was a good execution of that idea. You could do the same thing looking through the windshield and having like the dashboard frozen and everything else moving, something like that. Another car shot. Excuse me. Again, the car's tack sharp. You can see the wheels spinning. The white lettering on the tires is all spun out. The background is blurred, but the car is pretty sharp. So that's a good version of that. This is a great example of it. So this bird is not flapping its wings; it's gliding, and its body's in a relatively similar position. So even though this is probably a couple second exposure, that bird looks like it's just hanging there while the background is really blurred out. And the other thing they did an amazing job, whether it was in cropping or in camera, was creating diagonal lines with the background. Just a great job. Again, putting that bird at the impact point of the rule of thirds, looking, you know, it's just a whole lot of things were done well here. Just a great job of panning on that. Bicycles, another way you can do this. Again, you can really see the motion in the tires and in the feet of this cyclist, and then the background, you know, blurs out. So again, it's hard to say how fast, but rule of thumb for something like this is at least a couple seconds probably. This is a cool example of it. You know, following that surfer, but allowing enough motion, not just in the surf, but you know, you can see the waves in the background, how the camera has created this little blur of those. It's a little more impressionistic overall. The subject's not tack sharp. The subject doesn't always have to be tack sharp. It's kind of cool when it is, but in a case like this, we've got this, you know, very, like I said, very much impressionistic look overall. So I kind of like that. Another one that's a little easier to do because of the speed of these things. Again, they've created a tilt to give us some diagonals. Little unusual that the motorcycle is going in the direction that it is, right to left instead of left to right, but clearly that's the direction it was going because the lettering on the motorcycle is not reversed or anything. So that's, you know, and the color harmony is another thing. Look at the, you know, all the reds and the earth tones throughout from front to back on this image. It's just one of those things that make it stand out. Speaking of color, this one was another great one for color. A little bit of color contrast with the blues and the yellows, but overall, just very muted, cool color. Horses, animals, pets even, think about dogs, cats, whatever. Where you can sort of freeze the torso of the animal, but the feet are going to be in motion because they're moving. The simplistic background and the way that it blends color-wise with the subject. It's been cropped to a slim line. The rule of thirds is in play here. There's a lot of space in front of that horse, so it's creating room for it to move. So a lot of things were done intentionally here, not just with the panning technique. So this one's kind of interesting. This is really tough to do. So this is a pan zoom. So not only did they pan the camera as they took the shot, they zoomed the lens while they took the shot. So those little lines, highlights that you see coming off of the bicyclists, you know, going from the center to the corners, that's a function of the zoom. And man, to get this right again takes a lot of practice. And then one final bicyclist, a little bit of a shorter exposure, I think probably. Everything's moving kind of fast here, and he's not tack sharp, but again, it conveys this sense of motion, and that's really what you want it to do. So those were some pretty good examples that I just found real quickly. And then I thought, what could I do a little bit more creatively? and I just thought about this afternoon on the way home. So here's what I did. I turned into MacGyver. Let me stop sharing this. Yeah, I did go MacGyver when I got home, and I took this piece of wood that was actually part of an old shelf, and I had this set of casters. So I screwed the casters to the bottom, and then I took some sort of cement putty and just cemented these. These are actually frame edges. These are aluminum section frames that I took the frame apart and used 2 sections of it and just put them on this board. And the idea was that I was going to put my camera here, put a subject here, and then because I had the casters, I could roll this thing. And again, the camera in relationship to the subject isn't going to move. So the subject's going to stay tack sharp, but the background is going to blur. So let me show you how it worked out in practice. Let me go into Bridge. All right, so this is my little setup. Okay, and the camera's just sitting on there. If I had gotten really adventurous, I would have drilled a hole through that and screwed the camera to it, so it would have, been even less stationary. My point in showing you this is to show you that you can actually create something like I did this in 20 minutes. I mean, you may actually have something already that you don't even have to make that would let your camera move if you decide to go this route for your assignment next week. So this is looking at the camera from the back. So I wanted you to see this because this is my background. This is, well, it was my rec room. It's now my production area. So this is what is going to be behind my subject, just a regular room with some fluorescent lighting in the ceiling. And we'll see what it looks like once we get shots done. So I'm not sure what's different about that one. Not much. So let's watch the, now this is what I don't know. I don't know if this video is going to play. It's going to preview in Bridge, but I don't know if I hope you'll see it. So if this starts to move, please tell me. There we go. So all right, it's not moving on my end either. Why is that? There we go. Well, it's just jerky. I can hear it. The sound is playing normal speed. The video is not. Let me stop it, see if I can let it buffer. All right, it's not. So we are going to do this a different way. I'm going to try to run it through QuickTime. Let me share that window. All right, so let's see if it'll play this way. Yep, looks better there. So are you guys seeing it move? Okay. So all I did was set this truck on it and obviously, focus on the truck, on the foreground part of the truck. And no, I would never go to Walmart dressed this way, but this was just my basement and I was trying to be comfortable. So you'll watch, you see I'm holding the camera stationary as I move this so that it doesn't move and just dragging it across the table, checking it, see what it looks like. And then I had the idea it might work better if I did an arc rather than go straight across. You'll see the difference when we look at the final prints, final images. So it's about a 4-second exposure. I just set the camera to 4 seconds. And I think I did it 2-3 times. I think there's one more in here. You can see how high tech this is. So I'm, again, holding the camera so that it stays stationary and move it around, and that's pretty much it. All right, now let me show you the images and what they looked like. So that, first of all, that's the image of just nothing. It's not moving at all. I probably shot this at, well, what did I shoot this at? I shot it at f11 actually. But because of the fact that I'm focused very close to the camera, I'm focused right out on the edge of these frame pieces, the background is out of focus even at f11. So that's just with it sitting stationary. This is that 4-second exposure as I'm moving it. And then I did 2 different versions. So that's the one where I'm just moving the camera or moving the thing along the table in a straight line. Now, if I'd had time, I would have gone in and removed the frame. I like what the table did. It kind of looks like a road underneath, even though I would have to have created a contact shadow underneath that to make it look like it was actually on a road. But that's just going straight across. And then when I decided to go in the arc, I like that a whole lot better. Gave me a very different look, especially to the ceiling lighting. And you can see how it kind of makes a little dip in the image. So overall, for a little 20-minute project, I just wanted to give you guys an idea for something. There's a lot of different ways you can go with this assignment. Like I said, go out riding in the passenger seat of a car. Don't do this while you're driving, and do some shots, or try to pan with a car, or at a car, or a bicycle or motorcycle, something like that, or create something like I did. Figure out some way to attach your camera to something that you can move it and keep it stationary relative to whatever subject it is. So, and the other thing is build on everything that we've done. So my first thought actually when I did this was, well, I'm going to put some strips of LED lights in the background and let those streak out. And that would have been kind of cool, but I just didn't have time to do all of that because my putty wasn't setting up fast enough. I just had to get this done for class. But there's a lot of different ways you can, or a lot of different subject matter you can think of. If you want to try something completely different, just Google images with camera panning or something like that, and you'll see a whole bunch of different ways to do the technique. But that's going to be the assignment for next week. We're running a little bit ahead here, which is actually okay. I'm going to go ahead and call about a 15-minute break here. And then when we come back, we'll just go and do the rest of the class is just going to be a little one-on-one with each one of you. I apologize in advance to whoever it is that's last and has to sit here the longest, but even you, I think, will get out a little bit early. So let's say 5:15. We'll come back in and take care of that. See you in a few minutes. One advantage to virtual classes is that you can bring all the food you want to class and nobody cares, right? Nobody's going to say, hey, if you don't have enough for everybody, you can make all the noise you want and you're muted. So I'm gonna miss a few things about doing it this way, but it definitely is a challenge in other ways. Couple of things, couple of notes I want to make before we move on. We are going to plan to meet face to face a couple of times before the end of the semester. So we have, just looking at the calendar. So this week, let me think here. 1, 2. All right, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I want to say we have the possibility of meeting face to face 2 or 3 times before the end of the semester. It won't be the last class, obviously, is the test. There's no reason to meet physically to do that. The week before is the review. We can also do that virtually. The week of, let's get my dates straight here. I know the week of April, well, the class on April 15th, I will actually just be getting back from Atlanta. I'm going to be in Atlanta for about 4 days. So that class will be something pre-recorded that you guys can watch instead of meeting face to face. So there's probably, I think, like I said, only 2 or 3 potential ones that we can meet, but I want to do that. I think there's a few things I've kind of been saving, hoping that we would get to do that. I've been waiting. I had my, sorry, the brain's just a little fuzzy this week. I had my second vaccine shot this week. And as has happened with a lot of people, it kind of messed me up a little bit. I'm over the worst of it. For about 16 hours, I felt like I had COVID, waking up drenched in the middle of the night or feeling, headaches and body aches and just queasy all over. Luckily, that part passed pretty quickly. I still haven't completely recovered. So that's part of the reason that we're moving a little quicker here today than we normally do. But anyway, they recommend that you have been vaccinated for 2 weeks before you start to feel a little bit safe. And even though there will still be safety protocols in place, I feel better knowing that I'm not probably going to expose anybody to anything. I'm in some high risk areas every day. And, you just never know because of the gestation period of this thing, you could be a carrier and infect somebody without knowing it. I don't want to do that. So after, let's see, this week and after next week, then the following week, we may have a couple of week window where we can get together face to face. And it may not be on campus. It may or it may not be. It just depends. Or it may be on campus, but not in the lab. It really just depends on what the, whatever subject matter we're going to do for that week, where we're going to meet. I have in the past done this class a couple of times at my studio, but I'm not sure if we're going to have that opportunity because I actually just sold my studio and they take over on April 2nd. So I'm not sure. Most of the building has been cleaned out. We'll see. We might be able, there might be enough stuff left for one class in there. I'm not sure yet. We'll see what happens. Anyway, just want to give you some background on that. A lot of this stuff, like the panning exercise that we did today, were we meeting face to face, it would be great because we could actually go out and practice that technique together. And that's normally what happens in this environment. Unfortunately, you just sort of have to hear about it and then go do it on your own. But you guys are handling most of that pretty well. And this, like I said, is a simple enough technique. It just takes a long time to master. So please don't think that you're going to go out and, well, you might, but I doubt it. You're not going to go out probably and the very first picture you take is a perfect shot. You're more than likely going to have to experiment and play with this a few times. All right, get your butt up here. Sorry, my dog's driving me crazy. I think he wants to play along here. So now he wants to chew on my wires. All right, you want to go out? You're going to go out if you keep that up. So I'm going to set up little breakout rooms here. Let's see, assign manually. I did this the other day and they've changed some things in Zoom which make this a little bit tougher. No, we only want one room. There we go. All right, so I'm just going to go down the list of the way people are on the list. So again, I apologize to those of you that are going to be stuck to the end, but we'll just spend a few minutes with each one of you and kind of give you an idea of where you're at. Alana, your name is the first one in the list. If this works, as soon as I do this and assign you that room, you should move over into that room, and then I'll meet you there. Let's see if this works. Assign. All right. It's not working. Room 1. All right, you got to get down. Go. Let me delete that and we'll try this again. Well, it says it has assigned you to room 1 or room 3 rather, but you're still here and it's not letting me join. Ah, here we go. All right, so hopefully this worked. Yay, got it to work. All right, cool. So I don't really even have to look too much here at your stuff. You're killing it. There's nothing you need to worry about at this point. You just keep doing what you're doing. You are one of only a couple of people that are at an A level right now. Most people I tend to put, even if they're doing pretty well, I tend to put them at a B, just, you know, like we said before, to give them a target. But you're up there to the point now where I can't put you at a B. You're you're just doing better than that. So you've actually gotten several points back towards that grade. You haven't missed any classes. You haven't missed any assignments, and the assignments that you've been turning in have been getting better and better as we go along. So you're an easy one. All I'm going to say to you is just keep doing what you're doing. My question to you is, so this is the first time that I've done this particular class remotely. And it has some specific challenges that the basic class doesn't have. So I will ask if you have any comments, complaints, suggestions, things that you want to point out that you particularly like or you don't like, or anything along those lines that might help me to adjust if any adjustments necessary from this point on. Anything come to mind?
Well, like being on Zoom for this one, like it's not that bad. I don't think. Like I still understand the concept of the assignments and everything. And I also really like this class like a lot more than the first one.
Oh, really? Oh, good.
Yeah, it's like more fun. I don't know.
Well, that's good. I always felt that this one was, well, the first class is more technical. Like the first half of that
Yeah.
semester is very technical. Then you get into, you finally get into a little bit more fun stuff towards the end. But yeah, this one's more about creativity and technique than
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. So, okay, I get that. Makes sense. But nothing else to say, well, gee, I wish we were going to do this or not going to do that.
No.
Okay,
I don't
cool.
know.
Well, if you do think of anything, you can always send that off to me. And we'll
Okay.
go from there. But I think, like I said, in your case, you have absolutely nothing to worry about at this point. If anything changes, I'll let you know, but I don't expect that to happen. So,
All right.
so if there's nothing else, I'll let you go and you're done for the day. A little bit early, good bit early, actually.
All
And
right. Thank you.
we'll see you next week.
Bye.
All right, let's do that again. And Jaden is up next. There we go. I see a Jay. You must be there.
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, let me take a quick look at a couple things first. So you are you're batting 1,000 on attendance. You're batting 1,000 on assignments. You've actually gotten a couple of points back even towards your grade. I do keep, for the most part, for most people at the midterm point, I keep most people, unless you're significantly above the line or significantly below, I keep them at a B level, which is where I've got you right now. But I will tell you that you have, I have no doubt that you're capable by the end of the semester of having me move you up. So the only thing that is necessary for that to happen pretty much is to keep doing what you're doing. Keep turning in the assignments. What I look for mostly in the second half of the semester from everybody is improvement in the work. And when I say improvement, I mean, if I see that you're actually incorporating some of the techniques, especially the ones that we talked about earlier, into the things that you're turning in, then I understand that you're taking that knowledge and you're applying it. And so I kind of look for that a little bit in the second half. The other things are a little more intangible, but at this point, there's nothing that you need to worry about. I think that if you do keep doing what you're doing, unless you totally bomb the test, which I don't expect,
I hope not.
I hope not too. I hope nobody does. I'm thinking about doing something a little bit different this year, since this is the first time I've done this particular class remotely. I've done the other one twice. I'm thinking about having the written test or the online test, and then adding an option for turning in an additional assignment that could possibly offset any problems that anybody might have with the test, because we're kind of going into uncharted territory with this class. There's usually so much hands-on. So I'm thinking about maybe giving people a little bit of an option at the end to make up for any shortcomings that you might have because of that. So my question to you is there anything about the class that you think could be better, or is there anything, I'm going to